Yeah. If you can get one step closer, sir.
No, I'm sorry. We would like you, sir, right here.
I don't want to get too far. But
You don't want to get too close to us?
No,
We don't like it.
because it's about all the people, not just
We
about
understand.
me. Right.
Can you give us your reaction to what happened today?
I'm going to let the lawyers speak to the issue of facts because we're on appeal. So we're not going to speak to the issues that will be carried on to the appeal, the Superior Court. We still think the case is a very powerful one. A case that needs to be brought to a jury based on the Constitution. We today have been convicted for our convictions, and our convictions don't change. We're in a state where we're seeing a great deal of extremism, denial of Medicaid to over 500,000 people, unemployment to over 170,000, tax laws being made regressive that will hurt the poorest among us, earned income tax being hurt, 900 and some thousand people being denied earned income tax so that 23 of the wealthiest families can get a tax break, and the most regressive attacks on voting rights we've seen since the days of Jim Crow. How do we feel about today? 58 years ago, this day was the second day of the Montgomery bus boycott. 58 years ago today. December 1st, Rosa Parks sat down, engaged in an act of civil disobedience. Not to get arrested, but willing to, if arrest happened. So to be in that tradition 58 years later, to know that the devotees of civil rights, black and whites, were often convicted in lower courts, and then when it went to higher courts, things were turned around and the nation was changed. We may be convicted for our convictions today, but our convictions stand. So what are we going to do? We're leaving here to go back and continue to mobilize. We're getting ready for December the 23rd when we mobilize. We hope the governor will join us in a celebration that he's rescinded his decision as Speaker Tillis, and we're getting ready for February the 8th, the biggest march Moral March on Raleigh, the HK on J. People's Assembly since the days of Selma in 1965.
What do you take of her dismissing one of the charges? Is that a small victory?
Well, I think those things I'll leave it to the lawyers. The dismissal and discussion, there's a lot of things that the lawyers were putting on the record. There's a lot of case law. What I will say is this case is bigger than William Barber, the NAACP, or Perry, or Dr. Spearman. This is really about the kind of state. And there was some language in there. We expect not to be allowed to protest in Russia or in other places. But when one or two, and I actually feel sorry for Chief Weaver because he's put in an untenable position where he's trying to enforce some rules that even the court had to admit were vague, out of date, struggle with the constitutionality of it. But the question is whether or not we're going to honor the constitutional principle put in our Constitution since 1868, 145 years ago. Black and white people coming up out of slavery said there were two things that had to be protected, and that was the right, in fact, the command for citizens to come and instruct their legislators. That's what signs do, instruct, especially when they won't meet with you. They instruct their legislators to talk with them, to redress, and the freedom, fundamental freedom of speech. And so these are some heavy questions, but these questions are being raised because of what we see, the extremism, the actions we've had to take. Is not just our actions, but so many people throughout this state, throughout the nation, are looking at North Carolina and looking at the level of extremism. So what would be shameful for us would if we did not stand up. That would be the shameful thing if we did not speak up.
Will you be back when they reconvene?
We can come back. The rules say we can come back. Sure, we're coming back. That's the people's house. That's right. That's the people's house. We're going to be back. We're going to continue to engage in our constitutional right. More so, we're planning for our big Moral Monday return to Raleigh. We've been all over the state. People are moving and joining. People are registering people to vote. People are getting engaged. And in February the 8th, all roads lead to Raleigh. The Moral March on Raleigh, the biggest march you've seen since Selma, we believe. We're going to continue to stand because the thing I don't, and I'm sure these folks don't want to be convicted of, is the moral conviction.
That's right.
That when it was time to stand up, when it was time to speak up, we didn't stand up.
That's
we have a higher judge to answer to. And he says, that judge says, when I was hungry Did you feed me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? When I was in prison, did you visit me? When I was sick, did you heal me? And he says, inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. But if you don't do it unto the least of these, you've not actually not just offended people, but offended God. Somebody asked us, how do you feel about even the arrest? We're instructed, love those who despitefully use you.
And that's what we're going to stand. Rosa Parks, and I wonder, do you think that as she took her punishment, was this a just verdict?
She did not take her punishment. That's a misreading of history. They went to court, and because, as it was stated in the courtroom today, it was not just about taking the punishment. He was challenging an unjust law and pled unguilty because the law was unjust.
Was this a just verdict?
Was this a what?
Was this a just verdict?
Well, naturally, we said that our lawyers pleaded that we would receive not guilty. We did not receive not guilty, so we're at appeal. So the verdict is not finalized. We still have work to do on appeal. Remember, we got more than one court. This is a smaller court. Now we go to a court of record, court of jury. There are federal courts. There's a Supreme Court. We'll let the lawyers handle that. We're going to do what we're supposed to do, and that's work in the community, organizing and pulling people together against what we do believe is unjust. And that is the unjust attack on the poor, the unjust attack on the sick, the unjust attack on children, and the unjust attack on the most vulnerable of North Carolina. God bless you.
Do you think a Wake County jury will see things differently?
We're not. We'll have the lawyers say that. We're going to work to organize. We'll see you on the 23rd.
All right. See you there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you rushing out.
Thank you.